I had a feeling it was just a question of time before my sister would attempt to undermine my aspirations, yet I was taken aback by how openly she went about it. On that day, I rummaged through my room for the third time, my heart racing as each drawer revealed nothing. My passport had vanished. The crucial item I required to catch my flight for the scholarship interview in Paris had disappeared. Only last night, it was securely nestled in the folder on my desk. Now, vanished without a trace. My name is Evelyn Parker, and I am 21 years old, the eldest daughter of a family that prides itself on its culture in the suburbs of Boston. Throughout my childhood, I was labeled as overly ambitious, urged to adopt a more humble demeanor, simply because I chose books over social gatherings and had the audacity to envision a future beyond my family's limited expectations. Honestly, I can say that I have always acted with integrity. Yet, in their perspective, my greatest flaw was my unwillingness to dwell in the shadow of Emily, my younger sister, the shining star of the Parker family. At merely 19, Emily stood as the beacon of the entire neighborhood, crowned prom queen, a guiding light in the church youth group, and the cheerful presence at every charity event. What about me? They claimed I was obstinate, challenging, and perpetually stirring up issues. Evelyn, what chaos are you conjuring up there once more? My mother's voice floated up from the kitchen, both sweet and cutting like a finely honed blade. May I see your passport? It seems you may have misplaced it. When stress hits, your mind tends to wander, doesn't it? I clenched my jaw, forcing down the frustration bubbling within me. This was not the initial occurrence, and it was undeniably not my responsibility. At the door, that unmistakable figure rested against the frame. Emily stood there, her golden curls impeccably styled, as if she had just emerged from the pages of a magazine, playfully twirling a lock of hair around her finger. Her half-smiles sent a shiver down my spine. Perhaps this is a message from a higher power, my dear sister. Not everyone is cut out for the outside world, you know? Her voice was gentle, yet each word cut through with precision. The scholarship invitation remained poised on my desk, catching my eye. A comprehensive global policy initiative, choosing only 50 students from all over the United States. I had harbored a secret for 3 months, fully aware of the consequences that would unfold once it was revealed. They would go to any lengths to prevent me. I'm not fleeing, Emily, I stated, searching through the drawers one final time. I obtained this through honest effort. Why is it so difficult for you to share in my happiness? Emily entered my room, the sound of her high heels echoing softly against the hardwood floor. Oh, I'm genuinely pleased for you, it's just that you seem to have such bad luck, sis. Do you recall that prom dress you ordered that mysteriously showed up in a size meant for a child? Or that research project that inexplicably disappeared from your laptop just moments before the deadline? Unusual. My chest constricted. Each word stirred up memories as if they were raw, unhealed scars. None of those were mere coincidences. I was aware of it. Emily was aware of it, yet she would never confess. Evelyn, please come downstairs immediately. Your father wishes to have a conversation. Mom's tone had lost its softness. I let out a breath, making my way slowly to the living room where my parents awaited, poised like judges prepared to announce their decision. Father, seated with legs crossed, gaze icy. Mom, her silver cross shining brightly as she pointed to the vacant chair opposite them. Darling, we must discuss this scholarship matter seriously. Mom, I understand everything perfectly, I responded, firmly holding my position. I made it in. I've made up my mind, Evelyn. Embrace practicality. Father leaned in, his tone becoming hushed. This might present a chance. Alternatively, it might be a hasty error. Your well-being is our concern. I have the experience to understand my desires. Do not confuse control with affection. My tone was chillier than I anticipated. Next to me, Emily let out a soft sniffle. My only wish is for your happiness. Yet, you consistently transform every situation into a contest, perpetually creating a war zone. Mom swiftly wrapped her arms around her, her gaze cutting through me with the sharpness of frozen daggers. You're causing her pain once more, Evelyn. It's a pattern with you. I chose not to reply. Certain conflicts are more effectively addressed through quietude. Perhaps you might consider reflecting on it, my dear. Mom let out a heavy sigh, her voice laced with insincere worry. Not every door that swings wide is the path meant for us. A realization dawned within me. Not a bang, merely a soft, conclusive click of the lock. Indeed, you are correct. Perhaps I ought to reflect on it. I smiled, though it wasn't meant for them. This time, I was not looking for their validation. With less than 48 hours until my flight to Paris, I stood in the living room, absorbing the hollow chatter from those who shared my blood yet lacked my perspective. Dad lounged back, fingers interlaced as if readying for a strategic discussion. Evelyn, your dedication and effort have not gone unnoticed. Yet, there are moments when the divine finds ways to remind us. Not every aspiration leads to the correct journey. I nearly chuckled. The most recent occasion he mentioned that was when I declined to submit an application to the college Mom had chosen for Emily. Mom tilted her head, her eyes shimmering with an air of practiced compassion. We're simply concerned for your well-being, dear. Europe feels distant and fraught with peril. Are there no recognizable faces? In the meantime, Emily is actively representing our family at church events, bringing us pride with her efforts each day. As expected, Emily fluttered her lashes with a coy charm. Please take a moment to reflect on this, Evelyn. Paris may exude glamour, yet the pressure it brings is not for everyone. I fear you might feel let down. Once more. Just like when my prom dress was mysteriously bleached, I stated calmly. Or when my research project vanished just before submission, despite the fact that you were the last one to use my laptop. The atmosphere grew heavy with an uncomfortable stillness. Evelyn, Mom exclaimed, as though I had just tarnished our family's reputation. Refrain from escalating minor incidents into serious allegations. Incidents? A sly smile crept across my face. So, what happened to my passport right after you all learned about my scholarship? Yet another instance of celestial influence? Emily sealed her lips, yet her eyes sparkled with defiance. Her silence was enough. We were intimately familiar with this game. I have always been the one who feels deeply. Emily was simply worried. Evelyn, you're making a big deal out of this, Dad interjected, his tone resembling that of a calm instructor. This could very well be a hidden opportunity. Not every closed door signifies a misfortune. At times, it serves as a safeguard. Absolutely not, Dad. Our gazes met. It's mastery. It's apprehension. Anxiety about witnessing your daughter aspire beyond the confines you've established for her. That hit with a quiet sting. Father's hold on the armrest grew firmer. Mother averted her eyes. Emily adjusted her stance, reveling in her fleeting triumph. You really ought to take a bit more time to ponder, Evelyn, Mom said, her voice dripping with saccharine charm. Remain indoors this week. Come together with Emily at the fundraiser. Perhaps you will discover what is genuinely significant. I took a deep breath. They still failed to understand. Or perhaps they chose not to. So what you're implying is that I should abandon my trip just because my passport conveniently went missing at the worst possible time? I inquired with a sense of tranquility. Are you really expecting me to accept that this is fate? Their quietude spoke volumes. And it resonated more profoundly than any sermon they had ever delivered. I pivoted and ascended the stairs, abandoning the scrutinizing gazes that lingered on my back. As the door to my bedroom clicked shut, I found myself sinking onto the edge of my bed. The vibration of my phone interrupted the silence. A note from Noah, the sole individual who genuinely understood my struggles. Passport backup is safely secured. A vehicle is arriving at 5 a.m. Do you really believe this is the right choice? I held my phone tightly, my gaze fixed on that sentence. More confident than ever. I rose from my seat, gently approached my wardrobe, and slipped my hand behind a wooden panel. I retrieved a document box from that location. Within, a pristine passport, flight itineraries, and duplicates of all scholarship paperwork. It might conceal all but my readiness. Through my window, the glow from the room opposite danced playfully. Emily was chuckling on FaceTime, likely sharing the latest scoop about Evelyn's latest mishap. At times, I found myself questioning whether she ever grew weary of donning that ethereal facade around the clock. Most likely not. Individuals who have immersed themselves in their own act for an extended period often begin to feel as though they have faded from view. Yet again, she found herself mistaken. I unlocked my phone and swiftly entered, "Activate Plan Bravo. Looking forward to seeing you tomorrow morning." The scholarship invitation rested on my desk, gathering dust.
Akvit noche.
I wasn't about to let petty tactics derail my journey. Tomorrow, a new chapter would unfold. I tucked the backup passport into the concealed lining of my worn moss green backpack. The very same one from my journey at the age of 15. Mother always overlooked it. In our household, if it wasn't gleaming and adorned with a designer label, it might as well be invisible. Once more, my phone vibrated. "Here's another piece from Noah. Make sure to shield the camera outside your room. Exercise caution around Emily. She's not one to back down without a fight." I gazed at the ceiling corner where a small red light flickered.
The security camera of the family.
Allegedly for our protection. Interestingly, the footage from last night, when my passport disappeared, experienced a technical malfunction. Emily had even chuckled, proposing that I refresh the software. I merely nodded. With a sense of purpose, I carefully maneuvered my desk chair to the room center, ascended, and affixed a strip of black tape over the lens, ensuring that no one would inadvertently leave it on after hours. Returning to my workspace, I tucked my hair behind my ear and powered on my laptop. The most effective method to deceive the ever-watchful is to put on a performance. I began composing a fictitious email to the scholarship representative. "I'm sorry to say that I won't be able to make it to the interview because of personal matters. I appreciate your attention to this matter." I intentionally left my door slightly open. Moments later, the sound of familiar footsteps resonated, light and swift.
Emilys distinktive RHYTHM.
I remained still, yet I sensed her gaze meticulously examining every aspect of my screen.
Evelyn?
Her voice flowed with a syrupy charm, reminiscent of honey mingling in warm tea, yet I had grown resistant to that sugary allure by this point. I breathed out gently, crafting another line. "I look forward to reapplying next year.
If terre remains à chance."
"And you? Are you really going to throw in the towel?" Emily inquired, her voice tinged with a hint of skepticism. I shrugged, pivoting slightly to expose a visage marked by a subtle sense of acceptance. Perhaps it's true that everyone has a point. Europe is overwhelming. This could be a divine message. I ought to embrace it. She smiled, a subtle curve of her lips, not wide or obvious, yet to me, it resonated like a triumphant celebration. Emily nodded slowly, delicately shutting my door, as though she were taking the high road. Yet, I was aware that as soon as that door clicked shut, she was likely messaging at least 3 friends about my so-called revelation. All right. Let them believe I've given up. I remained motionless for a brief moment, listening as her footsteps gradually disappeared down the stairs. Then I accessed my private group chat with Noah. With the camera off, my family believes I've thrown in the towel. Plan Bravo is officially underway. His response came in nearly no time at all. "I will ensure your safe escape.
On the morrow.
4:45. A vehicle is stationed at Applewood. I acknowledged my thoughts in the shadows. This plan had been unfolding for 3 months. From the moment I discreetly submitted my passport application, concealed my flight itineraries beneath the secret compartment of a worn shoebox, and fabricated a fictitious travel plan destined to remain unrealized. Each nuance was crafted to deceive them. I settled in to put pen to paper for a letter.
This is not a goodbye.
It feels more like a proclamation of liberation. I tucked it away in an envelope, hastily marking the front, "For those who believe they understand my essence." That night, slumber eluded me. I perched by the window, observing the glow emanating from Emily's room, her laughter cutting through the memories like a sharp blade.
4:30 nachts.
I slipped into my jeans, donned a khaki jacket, tied my hair back neatly, and threw on the old backpack that concealed all my essentials. Each action needed to be executed with the accuracy of a strategic play. I deftly avoided the third stair, the one notorious for its creaking, and quietly made my way into the kitchen. The coffee maker was programmed for 5 a.m., preparing for her early Bible study, and the aroma of brewing coffee began to fill the air, softening the underlying tension. I gently pushed the door ajar. Regrettably, the hinge emitted a piercing creak.
I pauset, Brit kaukt in my throat.
The distant sound of a toilet flushing from above reverberated through the space. The door to the bathroom swung open. I dashed out the front door like a fleeting shadow, racing across the lawn. The muted grey SUV nestled beneath the tree emitted a gentle blink of its lights. "Come on in." Noah pushed the door open. I leaped in, just as a recognizable voice roared from the window of the upstairs bedroom. "Evelyn Grace Parker, halt immediately." I kept going. The vehicle surged forward, disappearing into the ethereal morning fog. Behind us, the immaculate White House stood as the final prison I had just escaped from.
I neva glangst behind me.
Just as Noah's SUV pulled away from Applewood, my phone erupted with notifications. Messages from Mom, Dad, and, as expected, a barrage of missed calls from Emily. "Evelyn, you're making a grave error," Mom texted, more serious than ever. "Return home. It's time for us to have a family discussion." Dad responded, brief and icy. "And what about Emily?"
Do you really believe you will triumphet? You're merely inviting embarrassment upon yourself. I cast a sidelong look at Noah, a smirk playing on my lips. Punctual as always.
He chuckled softly, yet his gaze revealed the burden of what I was shouldering. "Are you prepared?"
I murmured, my fingers dancing across the screen.
The group message, Plan Bravo, was initiated for the final time.
Ideal Moment. Lift the veil.
Within a mere 5 minutes, the video made its way into the Parker family group chat. A modest farewell token just before I stepped onto that plane. The display illuminated with crisp visuals. Emily, in the shadows of our garage, stealthily applying bleach to my turquoise prom dress just hours before the dance. In another scene, she quietly entered my room, stealthily taking the external hard drive from my laptop, just moments before my project deadline loomed. I included a straightforward caption. "May the divine grant forgiveness to those who advocate for righteousness while bearing the marks of hypocrisy."
Noah laid out a wistler upon catching sight of my face.
Fierce.
Still in progress.
I moved on to the next slide. A clear photo of me at the Boston passport office on March 12 surfaced. Authorized seals, verification messages, mail tracking. All the pieces fell into place.
The last note I sent into the conversation.
Just a quick note, my new passport has been ready for 5 months now. This time, everyone in the family will keep it safe and sound. I envisioned Mom grasping her chest, breathlessly exclaiming her familiar, "Oh my heavens." Father's jaw clenched, casting Emily a silent, understanding look, yet refraining from acknowledging it aloud. And what about Emily? She'd toss her phone aside, then switch her demeanor quicker than a celebrated performer on stage.
The Davis vibrated en ce mot. Evelyn.
This family deserves better from you.
Vater sent a message.
Someone is keeping an eye on you, Evelyn. Mom interjected, retreating into her beliefs yet again.
Suddenly, Emily's message materialized. Concise. Incisive. Backstabber. A subtle smile graced my lips.
Turncoat? No. I was simply uncovering the reality. Now comes the exciting part.
I glanced over at Noah.
Is the live stream set up and ready to go? Noah gave a slight nod, passing his phone to me.
Everything is ready.
Is Facebook still relevant? Are you referring to YouTube? Even your mother's church groups are paying attention. I primped my hair, gazed directly into the camera, and flashed a smile.
Greetings of the day. My Name is Evelyn Parker.
It appears that my family is rather concerned about how we are perceived by others. Alright, let's sort this out collaboratively. I perused through vintage snapshots. Certificates of scholarship. Awards for excellence in science at the state level. Titles of state debate champions. None of it ever reached the walls of the Parker family. Because Emily embodies true pride. It's essential for people to realize that success isn't always presented in a pristine package with a forced grin. I halted, my gaze fixed on the display. For years, there has been an ongoing attempt to submerge me beneath the waves. I apologize. I possess the ability to swim. Below, The comments erupted with vibrant energy. Is this genuine? This girl truly deserves to be in the limelight. The congregation certainly had a deep admiration for Emily Parker. At last, everything falls into place. Noah made a gesture. It's time to get going. The airport is merely 15 minutes away. I concluded the live stream with a single sentence. I'm off to Paris. Not to escape, but to embrace my existence. I appreciate the lessons provided. As we exited the parking lot, the lingering sound of phone calls faded into the distance. Mother. Father. Emily. Everyone was frantically attempting to grasp what had slipped through their fingers. Myself. Evelyn, Noah remarked, as we blended onto the highway. They won't allow this to slip away without a fight. I rested my head against the glass, observing the dawn as it unfolded before me. That works for me, provided they grasp a single concept. From this moment forward, I refuse to remain passive while they walk all over me. Paris lay in anticipation just beyond the horizon. At 5:12 a.m., Noah's SUV surged out of Applewood, slicing through the dense October fog. Behind us, the tranquil neighborhood lingered in stillness. All was calm, save for the White House at number 27, where doors had just burst open in a flurry of commotion. Noah chuckled, his eyes darting to the rearview mirror as he spoke. I think they just found out. There was no reason to glance behind me. I could picture Emily bursting onto the balcony, phone pressed to her ear, urgently trying to rally everyone to intervene. Mom would go off, venting about that girl destroying the family. Father, as per usual, maintained his icy demeanor, commanding everyone to eliminate all evidence. Yet this time, they found themselves a beat behind. I had taken the lead. In a span of months. My phone shook with intensity. Messages poured in from the family group chat. I have opened it. I would like to verify my forecasts. Mom, Evelyn Grace Parker, please return home right away. Let's not allow this to escalate. Father, your behavior is disgraceful. Please return home at your earliest convenience, so we can have a conversation. Emily, do you really believe you have all the answers? This decision will haunt you. I pressed and held the group icon, then blocked it. Noah remarked with a touch of amusement, I bet they're in a bit of a panic. Excellent. Allow them to experience that sensation for a moment, I responded, my gaze locked on the path before me. To my surprise, my voice carried a calmness I hadn't anticipated. Just a quick 20-minute drive to the airport. The scheme to break free from the Parker family's quiet theater was progressing flawlessly. Watch out, there are traffic cameras around. Noah slowed down, his hands firm on the steering wheel. If they attempt to exaggerate this as you fleeing, we will require evidence that you departed lawfully. I retrieved a transparent plastic folder from my backpack. Within were duplicates of my freshly issued passport, flight tickets, scholarship invitation, and even luggage receipts. There isn't a single gap to be found. They have nothing to hold on to, Noah. They seem to be struggling aimlessly at this point. I gazed through the window. The homes dissolved into the fog, resembling ink smudges gradually disappearing. The oppressive burden that had held me captive for 21 years was finally lifting with their departure. My father often remarked that I was destined to understand my role in the world. My mother often took the opportunity to remind me. A wise individual understands the importance of remaining in the shadows. Is that you, Emily? Her words were few. With just one smile from her, the universe conspired to label me the defiant, unappreciative soul. However, this morning, I was no longer the Evelyn they once knew. Noah drove into a parking area close to the airport and turned off the engine. Final step, Evelyn, are you certain about this? He gazed at me, his eyes brimming not with uncertainty, but with admiration. I secured the straps of my backpack and inhaled deeply. I have no doubt. As we entered the airport's main hall, the warm yellow lights enveloped us, accompanied by the steady murmur of flight announcements echoing throughout the space. Here, I was not recognized as the difficult daughter of Parker. In this moment, I was simply a young woman carrying a dream called Paris close to my heart. Once more, my phone vibrated. Emily, your journey will be limited. Remember the presence that awaits behind that church door each Sunday. I was indifferent. Also cut off her number. My mother always said that family is something you can never truly sever ties with. Incorrect. Not all connections deserve to be maintained. I paused at the security checkpoint. Noah assisted in placing my luggage on the conveyor belt, his gaze tracking my every action, reminiscent of an older brother keeping a watchful eye on me. Congratulations, Evelyn. This is the section where you tread your own path. Noah reached out his hand. I grasped his hand firmly, my silence speaking volumes. He understood that expressing gratitude was the least I could offer. As I passed through security, every step felt like releasing the unseen chains that had bound me for years. I chose not to glance back. I was indifferent to Emily's next move. I had endured for far too long, haunted by their stares and by words that masqueraded as affection. From this day forward, I embrace my own voice. Paris was not a getaway. It marked the start of something new. The proclamation resonated. Attention all travelers on flight 1537 heading to Paris, kindly make your way to gate 14. I clenched my ticket tightly and strode directly toward it. Before me, for the very first time, lay my universe. As the aircraft's wheels made contact with the ground at Charles de Gaulle, I felt prepared for whatever lay ahead. Aside from the all-consuming, exhilarating sensation of liberation, Paris embraced me in a gentle hush. No one here recognized me as the daughter of the Parker family. For the first time, I experienced a profound sense of belonging. Within the confines of the Global Policy Institute, embraced by ivy-clad stone walls, I found myself merely an unknown identity. Yet, that veil of obscurity granted me liberation. No one inquired about Emily. I was neither seen as the obedient daughter nor the challenging one. In this place, only merit was recognized. And that, I possessed in great measure. The initial seminar delved into the influence of digital activism in today's world. I realized right away. This was my platform. Evelyn Parker, a candidate hailing from Boston, is set to deliver an insightful analysis on the ways in which digital media empowers personal voices, breaking free from conventional constraints. The host made the announcement, and I stepped onto the stage, each heartbeat resonating in my ears. My journey didn't begin with statistics. I began with my reality. I was raised in a household where quietness was esteemed, and achievements were only acknowledged if they stemmed from the daughter they had sanctioned. Yet, the digital realm revealed a different lesson to me. No one can stifle your voice when you grasp the microphone in your own hands. In the front row, dignitaries and leaders acknowledged with a nod. Some shared furtive looks, as though these words had danced in hushed tones before, yet remained unvoiced until now. I delved deeper into my exploration of social movements that have emerged from social media, ranging from Me Too to worldwide human rights initiatives. Yet, the most striking aspect was my own journey, illustrating how a family can twist, dominate, and stifle aspirations beneath a veneer of righteousness. Not everything adorned with eloquent phrases is genuine affection. At times, what appears to be concern may actually be a form of manipulation. At times, the most harmful elements originate from the very environment we consider our sanctuary. As I halted, the atmosphere in the room became charged with anticipation. Then, applause erupted, a relentless tide surging through the hall. At that instant, I understood. I had hit the most vulnerable spot. Following the seminar, journalists from prominent publications gathered around me. They were captivated not only by the presentation itself, but also by the narrative that lay beneath it. A tale of a young woman who bravely ventured beyond her family's ornate confines to assert her individuality. The initial headline was released. Evelyn Parker. From overlooked offspring to the anthem of a new era. In just 48 hours, the secrets of the Parker family were pulled into the open. Former students, local residents, and even members of the congregation stepped up, validating the claims. Evelyn found herself cast aside. Her accomplishments obscured. While Emily received an abundance of favoritism. Emily responded without hesitation. She shared a 5-minute video on social media, tearfully recounting how her sister concocted tales to tarnish the family's reputation, asserting that her only intention was to safeguard their unity. Yet again, the familiar script. It was unsuccessful. The remarks were merciless. So, who was it that ruined her prom dress? Could you clarify the footage from the garage camera? Did she also fabricate the scholarship invitation and impressive records? Emily swiftly removed the video just hours later. Her previously flawless social media profiles disappeared without a hint. And then the affirmation arrived. Emily Parker has been suspended from her position as youth pastor at the church amid ethical concerns. In the meantime, I received an invitation for a unique interview on a global television network. The host inquired, "Evelyn, what do you believe makes your narrative connect so deeply with others?" I gazed directly into the lens and offered a warm smile. Because each person has an Emily in their life. At some point, everyone has found themselves silenced, all in the name of maintaining the comfort of others. Yet, when the truth is revealed, it requires no loud proclamation. Clarity is all that is required. The broadcast gained immense popularity. I was dubbed the voice of the forgotten children. What about the Parker family? They remained quiet. There are no statements available. There are no defenses. This time, they found no space to manipulate the story. I found no need to pursue vengeance. The truth was my catalyst. Just under 3 weeks following my speech in Paris, my inbox was flooded with invitations I had previously believed were reserved for the children of others. An official letter from the European Parliament arrived, inviting me to discuss the influence of digital activism in breaking down conventional power structures. The subject line captivated me, prompting me to read it 3 times over. I wanted to confirm that it wasn't just a figment of my imagination. Shortly thereafter, I was officially designated as the North America Regional Ambassador by the Global Young Leaders Program, a role subtly designated for individuals from prestigious institutions like Harvard or Yale. A message from Noah arrived, concise and direct. Isn't it amusing how the overlooked daughter ended up being the standout, right? A smile graced my lips. Yet within, a delightful contentment coursed through every fiber. The highlight arrived when I received an invitation from the White House to address the Next Generation Leadership Forum as a guest speaker. Once relegated to the far end of my family's dinner table, I was now poised to speak to the nation's policymakers. Across the ocean, the Parker family was descending into the consequences of their own making. Emmanuel Church, once represented by Mom and Emily as the embodiment of traditional family values, issued an official statement. The church has chosen to halt all partnerships with the Parker family until further notice, citing concerns regarding ethical transparency. Simply put, they were being excluded. The individuals who used to offer my father a reassuring pat on the back following each Sunday service now silently averted their gaze. Once a beacon of pride in her role as the devoted family woman, Mom now hesitated to venture beyond the confines of her home. What about Emily? She attempted to hold on to the last traces of her diminishing fame, broadcasting videos asserting that she was simply a casualty of misinterpretation, that my sister transformed due to her newfound notoriety. Yet again, the online world proved to be more discerning. Could you clarify the garage video, Emily? It's time to step up, shining star. Your sister's achievements do not diminish your own worth. Take responsibility. At last, following 3 erased posts and 2 comment sections turned off, Emily shared her final video. Yet again, there will be no insincere emotions. Her complexion looked wan, devoid of makeup, lacking the usual rosy hues. Greetings, all. My name is Emily Parker. Today, I refuse to offer justifications or seek validation. She inhaled deeply, fixing her gaze directly on the camera. For the first time, her eyes held steady. I acknowledge my mistake. I felt a pang of envy towards my sister. Rather than working towards improvement, I opted for self-sabotage. At my core, fear lingered. I worried that if Evelyn were to be acknowledged, the admiration I had been enjoying would vanish. With her head bowed, her voice became a gentle whisper. I apologize, Evelyn. Not because of your words on stage. Yet, for each moment you chose to remain quiet as I intentionally walked over you. The video gained traction rapidly. However, on this occasion, the reply was distinct. Embracing your errors is the initial stride forward. Wishing you all the best. No one is without flaws. Yet, it requires bravery to acknowledge one's mistakes. I viewed the whole clip with a sense of calmness. Pardon? Perhaps it's not the right time. Yet, I found that I no longer required animosity to propel me ahead. A new notification illuminated my phone screen. Evelyn Parker has been nominated by the Global Initiative for the 2025 Emerging Young Leader Award. Noah sent a message. Your victory is already secured. It's not due to your victory over them, Evelyn. However, it was due to your growth beyond them. I looked out the window, where the lights of Paris spanned over rooftops that have stood for centuries. Yet, the Parker family always believed I would linger in the background. A daughter who understood her role, remained silent, and diminished herself to conform to the expectations set before her. However, they were mistaken. And now, as they are compelled to witness my success blossom in the media, they are discovering the hard truths. The harder you attempt to stifle a voice, the more it resonates. That morning, immediately following the publication of my piece, Freeing Your Worth from the Family Cage, on Global Voices, my phone was incessantly buzzing. However, on this occasion, it wasn't the usual admonitions or emotional appeals from my parents. Rather, it was communications from unknown individuals. Youth connecting and seeking engagement. My name is Lily, and I am 22 years old. My family often confined me to the role of the unsuccessful child. I appreciate your willingness to share your thoughts. Evelyn, your narrative inspired me to pursue my dream school, despite my mom's insistence to stop daydreaming. Every message represented a piece of existence shattered beneath distorted hopes. And I came to understand that my journey was not an anomaly. It was a piece of a grander tapestry. At that moment, I realized that sharing only my narrative was not enough. That is the origin of the unseen voices. A space for young individuals neglected by their families, empowering them to find their voices and reshape their value. I began my journey with intimate workshops in Paris, the city I called home and where I dedicated my efforts. However, in just 3 months, the initiative had expanded to universities throughout Europe, and then to the US, Asia, and Africa. Each week, I found myself immersed in handwritten letters and lengthy emails, filled with tales of other Evelyns. Girls instructed to know their place, boys deemed as worthless dreamers for not adhering to the family legacy, and children compelled to diminish themselves so that others could feel more significant. And with every tale, I didn't merely hear. I assisted them in crafting a new chapter. On a June evening, following the conclusion of my speech at the United Nations Youth Forum, my assistant presented me with an envelope. Sender. Linda Parker. I gazed at the well-known script. Within lay a brief note, just a handful of lines. Your message was unclear to us. However, that is no longer a justification for confining you in that cage. I long for a day when we can gaze at one another with sincerity, free from the constraints of pretense. A sense of tranquility washed over me. Choosing to forgive is an act of will. Yet embracing the idea that I was no longer reliant on their validation, that was genuine liberation. I folded the note with care, tucking it away in the drawer alongside letters, articles, and messages from young individuals who discovered their paths through the Black Sheep success story. During the Global Women in Leadership Conference, I had the honor of speaking about transforming underestimation into a driving force for success. As I stepped onto the stage before a sea of faces, the weight of judgment faded away, leaving me in a realm of possibility. There were no piercing gazes from Emily, no deep exhales from Mom, no knitted brows from Dad. This moment, their gaze revealed authentic admiration. Not out of obligation, but because my narrative had resonated with them. There was a time when I was labeled a failure. A maverick. Yet, they overlooked it. The black sheep often finds its own way. At times, it's merely about forging an alternative route. When it reaches a level of determination, it emerges as the guiding force, ushering the group beyond familiar yet limiting boundaries. The crowd erupted into a standing ovation. My being was no longer tied to previous views. At that instant, it dawned on me. The narrative I crafted had shifted away from the theme of vengeance. It's no longer focused on revealing anyone. It had transformed into an emblem. For those who have been pushed aside, muted, and compelled to dwell in obscurity for not conforming to familial expectations. The success of Black Sheep was not merely a title. It served as a poignant reminder that genuine value is not derived from seeking approval. It arises from the courage to take a stand. Even if you find yourself solitary. The lights in the auditorium faded to a soft glow, departing the platform enveloped in the iconic crimson radiance of a TED Talk. My name graced the big screen, accompanied by a straightforward subtitle. From outcast to innovator. I made my way to the center stage. My steps have found their steadiness, no longer quaking as they once did. Not due to my familiarity with being in the spotlight. Yet, in that moment, I realized I was voicing the thoughts of countless individuals who had been ignored, whose aspirations were extinguished within the confines of their own abodes. In my upbringing, the prevailing belief was that a daughter's highest virtue lay in her obedience. I commenced. My voice remains unwavering, unburdened by resentment, just expressing the reality. They instructed me to submit to what they referred to as love. A relationship defined by stipulations, boundaries, and dominance. Countless eyes observed. Some with great focus. Some thoughtfully. It's as though they catch a glimpse of their own reflections within my expressions. What they failed to understand, I went on, is that the more you attempt to stifle someone's spirit, the more resolute they become in their quest to soar higher. More resilient. I mentioned Paris. Regarding my initial presentation. About how my narrative expanded beyond my wildest dreams. Not due to its uniqueness. Yet, far too many had found themselves ensnared in cages akin to my own. We learned to appreciate our family. No inquiries made. However, that does not imply we should agree to being belittled. Controlled. Veiled in affection. The applause resonated, crisp and unwavering. Family transcends mere blood ties, I declared, gazing directly into the camera, aware that millions were tuning in live from across the globe. Family consists of those who genuinely understand you, who values you, and who raises you high, even when you select a route distinct from theirs. It lingered, allowing the quiet to expand like an unseen emphasis. I once believed that revenge was about making those who looked down on me feel remorse. However, I came to understand that the most satisfying form of retribution is to thrive and flourish, achieving greater success, and, above all, refusing to allow the past to shape your future. The crowd stood, erupting into a wave of applause. Unceremonious clapping. This was the sound of individuals who had just encountered something that resonated profoundly within them. Once the discussion concluded, I made my way backstage. Noah was already present, cradling my customary cup of coffee. He remained mostly silent. He simply passed it to me with a nod. The vibration of my phone interrupted the silence. A note from Emily. You were correct. Family is not a prison where we confine one another. I am seeking to understand how to contribute to something greater. Stepping into the light of my own identity. I appreciate you not holding back on living your life while I work on my own changes. I revisited the text, then slipped my phone into my pocket. Forgiveness is not an immediate process. Yet, a smile crept onto my face, for I realized I had at last broken free from the ceaseless cycle of what once was. My unconventional success story was no longer a response to the Parker family. It transformed into an emblem for a whole era. Those who were once seen as too unique, too imaginative, too excessive in a society fixated on conformity. Upon leaving the auditorium, I encountered a gathering of students from the Unseen Voices program. Evelyn, you are the reason we found the courage to stand here today, said a girl with brown hair, her voice quivering yet her gaze unwavering. I was not a hero in a cape. Once, there was a girl who had shared their fears. Yet, opting to confront that fear transformed everything. And now they were embarking on their initial journey as well. I recognized that this journey was not merely about a TED Talk or receiving accolades. Every day, in various corners of the globe, children continue to be compelled to diminish themselves to meet the expectations of others. Yet, if a single individual found the courage to rise, that chain would begin to fracture, piece by piece. I would continue to grip the pliers firmly, to sever those bonds. not due to a need to demonstrate anything to others, but because I was indebted to myself for a life of freedom. On that day, Paris radiated with a warm golden light. I moved ahead, my heart light and free. Once the overlooked daughter. I no longer required reminders to recognize my value. I entered the illumination. This time, it came from a place of light. Evelyn's narrative transcends mere escape from familial constraints. It serves as a compelling testament. Genuine achievement isn't about demonstrating the faults of others. It arises from staying authentic to your own principles. In the contemporary landscape, numerous young individuals continue to feel constrained by antiquated frameworks. Yet, the bravery to venture beyond familiar boundaries is essential for liberation. Evelyn stands as an emblem for a generation that embraces uniqueness, confronts failure, and crafts their own narratives. What are your thoughts on Evelyn's journey and the underlying message of this narrative? We'd love to hear your insights in the comments section below. Be sure to subscribe to the channel for more touching and significant tales about family and life in future videos.